Tonight on CFTK-TV, President Trump officially puts tariffs on Canadian products. The Terrace River Kings advance to the CIHL finals, and a hostage held in Afghanistan returns home.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Hello, I'm Damian Smith, and thank you for joining us here on CFTK-TV. We begin today with breaking news from the White House in Washington, D.C., where U.S. President Donald Trump has announced that Canada, along with other countries such as Mexico and China, will be hit with tariffs on all products.
On the tariffs, is there any room left for Canada and Mexico to make a deal before midnight? And should we expect those Chinese tariffs, the extra 10%, to take effect tomorrow?
No room left for Mexico or for Canada. No, the tariffs, they're all set. They go into effect tomorrow.
Mr. President, just to follow up on my colleague's question.
And just so you understand, vast amounts of fentanyl have poured into our country from Mexico. And as you know, also from China, where it goes to Mexico and goes to Canada. And China also had an additional 10, so it's 10 plus 10. And it comes in from Canada and it comes in from Mexico, and that's a very important thing to say. We're looking at the UK with things. It doesn't have to be tariffs, but tariffs are easy, they're fast, they're efficient.
And the tariffs will officially be in place tomorrow. Those in Canadian office were hopeful that the month-long pause would be able to stall the action, but we'll now see how the economy may be impacted between the two countries, who have been a long-time trade partners. The U.S. Department of Commerce has also announced that it's planning to almost triple the anti-dumping duties on Canadian softwood lumber, bringing total levies to almost 27% even before the American president's threatened tariffs. The BC Lumber Trade Council said in a statement that the hike is unjustified and will harm forestry workers and communities in Canada and further burden home builders and consumers in the United States. Now moving on to local news, while the NHL playoffs are still a ways away, those craving playoff hockey in BC can look to a local league for such action, where things are really starting to heat up. Here's Cale Maslin of CFTK-TV.
This past weekend saw both conference final series in the Central Interior Hockey League playoffs come down to the wire in a multitude of games that were tightly contested for the most part. In the Eastern Conference Final, the Quesnel Kangaroos beat the Williams Lake Stampeders 4-3 on Saturday to force a winner-take-all Game 3 before they once again pulled out a 7-4 win on Sunday to advance and pull off the series comeback. And in the Western Conference Final, the Hazelton Wolverines also managed to force a Game 3 in their battle with the Terrace River Kings by just barely pulling out a 3-2 Game 2 win. But the River Kings managed to rebound to win Game 3 narrowly 4-3 and survive the series. The River Kings are close to achieving their goal of repeating as CIHL champs, as they now get set to face off against the Kangaroos in the final, with Game 1 taking place this upcoming Saturday in Quesnel. For CFTK-TV News, I'm Cale Maslin.
And earlier today, the Terrace RCMP posted on their website that they are currently seeking the public's help in their search for a person of interest. The person that they are looking for has been connected to an assault-related incident where a man traveling on foot had some kind of an encounter with a white Dodge Ram on the 4600 block of Davis Avenue. The person of interest linked to the truck is said to be an adult male who has been estimated to measure in at about 5'7", and he was also wearing a gray shirt when the incident happened. Anyone who might know where the man is located or has any other information that is potentially important to the case can call the Terrace RCMP at 250-638-7400. And there's a fundraiser underway for a Terrace family whose house has been ravaged by fire and flood to help them get back on their feet. Jaylee Matthews reports.
As an outreach worker, Angie Brown knows just how difficult life can get when your living situation isn't stable.
Like when I'm not working, we still go out and help. So, like even my kids, they grew up with me and helping everybody. So even my grandchildren, they go out and they help. They're like, I've got cubes, I got this, I got that, and everything. So it's just, open heart, open mind, non-judgmental. And if you feel the need, you don't need to be or have to ask, just do it.
Angie and her family spend their lives helping others who struggle, but a recent fire and sewage flood in their family home has resulted in their own need for community support. An incident during upsizing of a city sewer main caused a backup, which flooded the Browns' home and caused an electrical fire as well.
So, like, I really feel it right now because of what we're going through. We're getting rid of everything. And, like, that's what we have, that's what we own.
A GoFundMe has been set up by a family member to help the Browns recover with a $15,000 goal. And Brown says this situation has only increased her empathy for those she works with.
So, like me this week, my family and I, like, it's all lived experience. So you know exactly what they're going through, and, like, we've been in their situation as well. So a lot of that is where the non-judgmental part comes in.
Funds raised will be put towards interim accommodations along with managing damage and replacing goods. For CFTK-TV News in Terrace, I'm Jaylene Matthews.
And the previous weekend saw the Terrace and Thornhill Parents for Music Society host their annual telethon event at the REM Lee Theatre from 4 to 8 p.m. Over a span of 4 hours, band students from both Skeena Middle School as well as Caledonia Secondary School put on some performances that ultimately led to an event raising around $15,000 in total. But even with the telethon being over now, people can still send in donations to those students year-round by sending e-transfer to terracetelethon@gmail.com or by giving a call to 250-635-9777. The end of last week saw a pretty concerning incident occur inside a community at Vanderhoof. The incident in question happened when the local RCMP got word that the local post office had been getting a few different packages containing an unidentified powder that was deemed as being suspicious. As a result of the mysterious nature of the packages and their contents, the post office ended up being closed to the public and evacuated while the police investigated the meaning of the packages further. The investigation is said to be still ongoing, and while no other details are currently available, more information could come out later. Coming up next, in a weird time to be called it, we'll take a look at mini Canada in the United States. Welcome back to CFTK-TV. Well, with tariffs now official, people on both sides of the border may feel that the moves will drive Canadians and Americans apart. But for many in a small city in Vermont, this was a tough sell. Here's Genevieve Beauchemin from CTV, who traveled south to talk to Americans in a place once known as Little Canada.
Winooski sits in the heart of Vermont. It's not exactly a border town. Madame Perron. But some here with deep roots in Canada fear tariffs threaten deep ties forged generations ago.
We're talking about the tariffs today.
Yeah, that's so, it's such a, c'est bouleversant.
It's upsetting, says Romande Perron. Born and raised in the U.S., though, her ancestors are Canadian.
Why is it, I mean, it's sort of like you see that.
Because we were so close to Canada.
Vermont's largest trading partner is Canada. Ottawa says imports and exports support 17,300 jobs in the state, and Canadian companies employ 2,050 people. Businesses like J Skis are bracing for impact.
Got the keychains on the bottom.
Its award-winning handcrafted skis designed in Vermont are made in Canada. Manufactured at a cutting-edge company in Rimouski, Quebec.
25% is a massive, massive fee for us to pay to get those skis here, and the margins in the ski industry are pretty slim to begin with.
But drawing a dividing line across the border goes far beyond the bottom line in Winooski.
You guys want to take us? We can join up.
A maple leaf flies over the city once nicknamed Petit Canada, Little Canada.
You can see the names, Rushlow.
In the late 1800s and early 1900s, many Quebecers crossed the border, settling near textile mills.
They came down here for work, jobs. The mills provided jobs.
Since many mills have shut down, and the American president says tariffs will bring back a golden age to America. Still in Winooski, with the passage of time, fewer and fewer people speak French. But there are still signs of the legacy of close ties with Canada.
We hope we maintain a very high level of friendship with the Canadians. We're related to a lot of them.
And many here say that they hope this is just temporary, that the long-standing friendship will outlast this moment. Geneviève Beauchemin, CTV News, Winooski, Vermont.
And now we move on to your local weather forecast for tonight and for the week ahead. Tonight in Prince Rupert, it should be partially cloudy with lighter winds at 40 kilometers per hour overnight and a low of +4. And for this week, expect some sun and a double-digit temperature on Wednesday, but for the rest of the week, it should be raining for the most part. The high will be 10 degrees on Wednesday and the low will be 2 degrees on Friday night. Terrace and Kinabat's forecast for tonight should have a few clouds with increasing cloudiness before the morning. Winds should be coming from the north at 20 kilometers per hour overnight as well, with a low of 0 degrees. This week should see some sun tomorrow, continuing the warm couple of days recently. Then we'll see a little bit of a drop off as the week goes on with a chance for flurries on Saturday, but that could change very quickly. The high will be 8 degrees tomorrow and the low will be 0 degrees on Friday night. The Bulkley Valley for tonight will see clear conditions with increasing cloudiness overnight. Winds should be lighter, up to 15 kilometers per hour with a low of -6 and a wind chill of -4 in the evening time. This week should see sunnier conditions up until Friday, but a pretty warm week overall once again as we see the high there at 8 degrees on Friday and the low will also be -2 on Friday night as well. And now we take a look at your roadside report from around the Northwest. For additional updates, check out drybc.ca. Highway 16 has fog patches, fallen ice west of X2 and snowing from Burns Lake to Savory. Highway 37 has fog patches and compact snow from Bob Quinn Lake to the Yukon border. Highway 37A has fog patches and bridge maintenance 8 kilometers west of Mizyaden. The Nishka Highway has fog patches as well as debris on the roadway, and Telegraph Creek Road has compact snow throughout. And these are what the cameras were looking like from around the Northwest. Still to come, families fight for justice after a man was killed by those that were supposed to save him. Hello again. Well, in the Liberal Party, it seems as though it's going to come down to a two-person race between Mark Carney and Chrystia Freeland, but some interesting storylines have arisen, with former Prime Minister Stephen Harper citing issues that go back to the financial crisis back in 2008. Rachel Aiello reports from Ottawa.
We can win this. We will win this.
Touting her track record during the last round of Canada-US trade tensions, today Chrystia Freeland's campaign stop was focused on the threat of a redo.
If this trade war happens, a government led by me will be there.
Her main rival, Mark Carney, has also positioned himself as best placed to stick handle the economic fallout from tariffs.
We've had some experience with crises and building stronger economies.
But today, former Conservative Prime Minister Stephen Harper called into question some of those credentials, blasting Carney, who he tapped to run the Bank of Canada back in 2008, for overstating his role in steering Canada through the global financial crisis. In a letter, Harper accused Carney of taking credit for things he had little or nothing to do with back then, asserting that the hard calls were made by former Finance Minister, the late Jim Flaherty. Responding to these remarks, Carney's campaign accused Harper of engaging in revisionist history to save Pierre Poilievre. And with just days to go, some Liberals say they're running into problems with the party's app verification process. Voting opened last week. Of the 400,000 registered Liberals, the party says 100,000 people have completed the verification process and 78,000 votes have been cast so far. The party says the system is working as it should to ensure a secure vote, and that there's a team working to troubleshoot cases where members' information doesn't match with what's on file, similar to what can happen in a general election.
And over in Nova Scotia, a horrific story has emerged as one man was killed by those who were supposed to keep him alive. Here is Paul Hollingsworth of CTV News.
Tragedy has struck this picturesque Nova Scotia community. 28-year-old Blake Nicholson from nearby Spring Hill survived a snowmobile crash on February 21st, but was later killed when he was hit by the fire truck responding to the 911 call. The pain of their loss still fresh, Nicholson's friends and extended family members attended this organized protest at the local RCMP detachment.
I'm looking for justice for my fiance, my son, and his entire family.
According to the RCMP, Nicholson was waiting for medical assistance when he was killed by the fire truck. The Collingwood and District Volunteer Fire Department has dismissed Chief Gerald Cotton and Acting Chief Andrea Bishop over the incident. The municipality confirmed to CTV News Cotton was driving the truck when Nicholson was killed. Family and community members are devastated and angry. They are demanding more accountability and transparency from the RCMP.
We just want some answers. We just need, no one's telling anybody anything and they're just all hiding. We just want somebody to say something and take accountability for all this. Because anybody would if it was their brother.
Someone needs to speak up. Somebody needs
nobody
to speak
is.
Up, and no one's speaking up. It needs to be spoken up.
The investigation is ongoing, and the RCMP is asking the public for assistance when it comes to gathering new information. They also told CTV News it's not believed drugs or alcohol were factors. Nicholson's family says the slowness of the investigation with minimal details released is adding to their grief.
Represent my family, this family.
We are one family, we aren't two, so we're here together.
Grieving together, demanding a swifter response from the RCMP, and praying that a tragedy like this never happens again. Paul Hollingsworth, CTV News, Amherst, Nova Scotia.
And now we turn our attention to the stock market, where we have a fair drop in the index categories today. The Canadian dollar is up a slight amount. The price of gold is up $52.60. Oil is down $1.39. Natural gas is up 29 cents, and aluminum is down $17.50. In Toronto, the TSX is down about 392 points. The Venture Index is down 19.40. In New York, the Dow Jones is down about 650, and NASDAQ is down 497. Still ahead, a man who was captured by the Taliban in Afghanistan has now returned to his home in Ontario. Welcome back to our final segment. Well, dozens of countries gathered in the United Kingdom this weekend to discuss the Russia and Ukraine war. And Michael Okacher from CTV has more on this developing story.
UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer is leading what he calls a coalition of the willing, which he says will include British boots on the ground and planes in the air to secure peace in Ukraine. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau would not commit to doing the same.
We're not going to get ahead of the discussions on how to keep a peace that isn't yet in place. But Canada will be there and is open to doing what is necessary.
Now, Trudeau did point to Canada's ongoing training of Ukrainian troops as a key contribution since Russia's invasion. Still, the head of the European Commission says the continent must urgently rearm.
It's basically turning Ukraine into a steel porcupine that is indigestible for potential invaders.
European leaders insist they are at a crossroads, and it's why Starmer says he's taking the lead.
It's time to act, time to step up and lead, and to unite around a new plan for a just and enduring peace.
The UK and France are leading the push to work on a ceasefire plan to present to the United States. Despite being such a key part of this, no American representative was at today's summit.
The only way it ends is if Vladimir Putin comes to a negotiating table. And right now, President Trump is the only person on earth who has any chance whatsoever of bringing him to a table to see what it is he would be willing to end the war on.
You're gambling with World War III.
Even after Friday's now infamous confrontation in the Oval Office, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky believes the U.S. is still a partner. And he says Ukraine remains ready to sign a minerals deal with President Donald Trump.
Ukraine perceives the United States as its partner, a strategic partner. This is important for us.
All the while, allies continue to warn the U.S. Russia's president can't be trusted.
Vladimir Putin is a liar and a criminal and cannot be trusted to keep his word in any way, shape, or form, because he has demonstrated time and time again that he will break any agreements.
Despite that, Zelensky understands in order to achieve peace, Russia needs to be part of the process. But he insists Ukraine must also have a seat at the negotiation table.
Now we head over to Josh Moreno, who has a positive story on Canadian Dave, who was held captive by the Taliban in Afghanistan, but is now home in Perth, Ontario. Here's our final story of the day.
It's surreal, but it's a day many thought would never come, or at least not this soon. But after he was held captive by the Taliban for 2 months, Dave Lavery is coming home.
It's lovely to see all my friends and families. You know, you could feel the love and you can feel the genuine care, you know, and I felt that even when I was in my cell.
Known as Canadian Dave for his work rescuing more than 100 families in Kabul with Canadian ties, Lavery was kidnapped and thrown in jail by the Taliban, who thought he was a government spy.
Coming back and just experiencing normal environment, normal life, the cold, driving, being able to go to a restaurant, seeing people when I want to see people, laying in bed with my wife now.
We are strong. We family is strong. I'm proud. My husband, he goes through this really tough situation. I'm really proud of him.
With help from his wife, along with the Canadian and Qatari governments, Lavery was freed from Kabul on January 26th. From there, they went to their current home in Dubai before traveling to his hometown of Winnipeg, then to Vancouver. Now, Lavery is back in Perth, where he spent 30 years of his life with the armed forces, greeting friends at the Legion and retelling stories of his time in captivity.
Physically, to be able to see them, sit down and thank them, you know, I felt so bad by putting everybody in this situation. I really did. Even though I didn't do anything wrong, it still was hard on me.
During those 77 days, much of the time I felt like I was there with him. And I don't know whether he was able to sense that or not, but hopefully he got some comfort from my thoughts.
Now that Lavery is home, he says his time in Kabul is over, but adds he's not done helping those in need.
We still have operations and support in Ukraine, etc. But I'm going to slow down a little bit and take a little more of a break here and do a little more, you know, delegate, because I was doing a lot of my own stuff on my own.
Josh Moreno, CTV News, Perth.
That'll be all for tonight's cast. Thank you very much for watching and have a good night.